That's the programme for this evening. I'll be coming to you from Canberra on Monday for the first sitting week of the parliamentary year. Thanks very much for your company tonight. Good night.
Today in Gaza, Hamas hands over more Israeli hostages in return for 110 Palestinian prisoners. A mid-air collision between a passenger jet and a US Army helicopter sends the aircraft crashing into the Potomac River. A counter-terror task force continues to investigate explosives found in Sydney as the discovery reverberates in Canberra. And another night of emergency warnings for Western Victoria as a bushfire rips through the Grampians. Good evening, Yvonne Young with ABC News, coming to you from the land of the Wurundjeri people. We'll get more on that plane crash in the US in a moment, but first, more Israeli hostages are being released in Gaza today. Israeli soldier Agam Berger has been freed by Palestinian militants in Jabalia in northern Gaza. The 19-year-old's being transferred by the Red Cross to Israeli soldiers. And do stay with us, we'll hear more on this from Eric as the exchange is expected to continue in the world with Girish Salani. That's at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right after the business. To the US now, dozens of people are feared dead after a crash between a passenger plane and a Black Hawk helicopter near Washington's National Airport. An extensive search and rescue operation is underway in the Potomac River as workers battle rough conditions in the search for survivors. North America correspondent Carrington Clark reports from Washington, D.C. And to finance now, here's David Chow.
NAB is now the latest bank to predict there'll be a rate cut next month. And that's finance.
And here's what's coming up on The Business with Alicia Barry.
Tonight, content creators caught in the battle for control in social media and cautious consumers increasingly wary of new loans. All this and more at 8:45 Eastern Daylight Time.
The locations have been revealed for the Rugby World Cup games across Australia in 2027. Here are the top stories on ABC News. Israeli soldier Agam Berger has just been freed in Jabalia refugee camp in Gaza today. More Israeli hostages and Thai captives are expected to be released later on. In exchange, Israel will free 110 Palestinian prisoners and detainees, including 30 children under the age of 18. US officials say recovery efforts are still in the early phases and have not confirmed any fatalities after a passenger jet collided with an Army helicopter, with both aircraft crashing into the Potomac River in Washington, D.C. But US media are reporting bodies have been recovered by search crews. Police say their probe into the discovery of explosives in a Sydney caravan has been significantly compromised because their investigation was leaked to the media. Counter-terrorism police say they now have to ditch their covert operation and find a new strategy in their hunt for all of those responsible for a threat the New South Wales Premier calls a potential mass casualty event. And a bushfire that has burned through more than 10,000 hectares of the Grampians is one of several out-of-control blazes threatening Victoria's west. An expanded emergency warning now covers an area from Muralla to Glen Isla. Further west, a watch and act alert remains in place for a fire near Neil that has burned through thousands of hectares of the Little Desert National Park. Police are continuing the search for the killers of Melbourne gangland figure The Punisher as his funeral was held today. 32-year-old Sam Abdulrahim was gunned down on Tuesday in front of his girlfriend. Police are pleading with Abdulrahim's loved ones to help them track down his killer. Well, that is the latest from ABC News. Do stay with us for The Business, then The World with Girish Salani. We'll have more on that hostage release unfolding in Gaza. I'm Yvonne Young. Bye for now.
Welcome to The Business. I'm Alicia Barry. Coming up on the program, content creators caught in the battle for control in social media.
I think it's really sad for the Americans. They have been following me and engaging with my content.
And cautious consumers increasingly wary of new loans.
Consumers maybe have started to get a bit worried about their sort of longer term employment prospects.
It's being hailed as social media's Game of Thrones as tech titans battle it out for more market power. Analysts expect growing upheaval in this space, with the TikTok ban playing out in the United States. And that's all from The Business. I'm Alicia Barry. Thanks for watching.
Today in Gaza, more Israeli hostages released as we speak in return for 110 Palestinian prisoners. A mid-air collision between a passenger jet and a US Army helicopter sends the aircraft crashing into the Potomac River. A counter-terror task force continues to investigate explosives found in Sydney as the discovery reverberates in Canberra. And another night of emergency warnings for Western Victoria as a bushfire rips through the Grampians. Good evening, Yvonne Young with ABC News, coming to you from the land of the Wurundjeri people. More Israeli hostages are being released in Gaza today. Israeli soldier Agam Berger has been freed by Hamas militants in Jabalia in northern Gaza. It's believed she's been transferred by the Red Cross to Israeli soldiers and has crossed back into Israel. 2 Israeli civilians are understood to have been transferred to the Red Cross in the southern city of Khan Yunis in the past few minutes. 5 Thai farm workers are also expected to be released from Gaza, taken to hospital inside Israel. In exchange, Israel will release 110 prisoners to the West Bank and Gaza. Well, Middle East correspondent Eric Torchek has more on that for us later in the bulletin. Well, let's turn our attention to the US. Dozens of people are feared dead after a crash between a passenger plane and a Black Hawk helicopter near Washington's National Airport. An extensive search and rescue operation is underway in the Potomac River as workers battle rough conditions in the search for survivors. North America correspondent Carrington Clark reports from Washington, D.C. 7 cities have been locked in to host the 2027 Rugby World Cup in Australia, with the final set to return to Sydney. And that's the latest from ABC News. Do stay with us. I'm Yvonne Young. Bye for now.
Welcome to the programme.